Hi guys, and welcome to today's session. So what we're going to be doing is some more digital work, and this time we're going to follow on a bit from what we were doing last week, which was a series of tree studies. And I'm going to be doing some rock studies, so we're kind of looking at different features of the landscape, kind of carrying on the landscape theme. So I'm going to be starting with a little peppermint tool. And what we want to do is basically, when you're sketching rocks, rocks are a good thing to look at in terms of kind of learning form. So if I draw over these rocks, I can sort of show you how you can break them down into different planes. So take this rock, for instance, it's got this light plane on the top of it. The rest of it, traveling down, in different directions, but all these little planes that we see kind of break up the form of the rocks. You see within here there's this kind of lighter plane, slightly lighter plane, this very bright plane. The rock next to it's also got this kind of pretty obvious, it's a little bit more rounded, but it's got an obvious sort of dark plane in there. Another kind of side plane, almost like chamfered. And that top plane. So you can see we've got mostly, as a kind of general thing, this is what we're going to start with, a top plane that's lighter because it's sort of lit from above, and then these side planes that are darker. And that's our kind of basic form. And we get that through a lot of the rocks in the background as well, which we'll sketch some of those in. But that's going to be the first thing we start with. So we're going to be finding those shapes of shadow, the lighter shapes, and the darker shapes. So that's what we'll be working with, basically. You can sort of see if I zoom out how we're breaking them down. So get rid of those little armatures, and we're going to basically just be trying to draw those. So I'm not too worried about the water. We'll be looking at water another time. We're just working with these rocks. So yeah, well, let's just stick with the brush, actually. Let's kind of take a slightly more kind of digital look than we sometimes go for. So as I say, this one's kind of cutting back in. So that's not too bad as kind of first approximation for this left-hand rock. So then a little bit of a gap, and we've got the rock next to it, which has this kind of bright sliver shape on top of it. Maybe shuffle both of them across a little bit. So you can see them starting to form. And we're just kind of like blocking them on top of each other, working with a really simple kind of starting principle, which is just the side of the rocks are going to be darker than the top of the rocks. So we've got even like these ones kind of cutting up in the foreground are the same. So we've got this sliver on top of them. So more of these rocks starting to develop in the foreground. And as I say, I'm really focusing more on the rocks than I am on the water. Although the water you can see sort of does start to emerge just from the fact we're developing the rocks. So that's kind of worth bearing in mind. And as we go further back into the background, I'm going to simplify things out a lot more. So again, still trying to capture the general feeling of the rocks, but there's a lot of different layers and stuff going on. We're not going to get all of those in. We're not going to aim to get all of those in. But the main thing I want to use the background rocks for is just to create a little bit more pop of the value of in the foreground. So by getting them darker, we're going to just make the foreground ones a little bit clearer. Just make a little bit of a bigger brush as well, and we're gonna just put a little bit of a general shade over the whole scene, and we're gonna allow ourselves to kind of build up some of the lights back into it. Yeah, so from a distance you can see it's starting to emerge. So what I'm going to do now is get a little bit smaller brush. We're going to start kind of getting some proper darks in. So places where we can see that the rock forms get really dark. Some of the thinner little details as well, like this crack. Also, I'm just going to take a white brush now. So doing that, we're going to create a bit more of a more quality in the edges. The rocks needing the water. It's a study, it's not a finished piece we're working on. Just kind of grab more of a appropriate pencil. Render out a little bit more specifically. Some of the texture, kind of feel of texture in the rock forms. So this, what I'm doing now, it's basically the same thing we have been doing, but it's working at a smaller scale. So doing this just gives a little bit more character to the rocks. The approach works quite well in tandem, so you've sort of got your big forms established with that just kind of simple painting brush, and then you start to get just going to do a little bit of trying to capture the texture up there. And we're just about there, just about going to stop for today. Just kind of spending a little bit of time rendering things out a little bit more. I'm going to put a bit more of a shadow kind of coming into the water. Maybe use a brush for this. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. Maybe just change the shape a little bit of that rock. Possibly get it to kind of cut in a little bit more at the top here. That feels a bit closer and more natural. Oh, need that black. Get some kind of black notes in. Just in here is really dark. Just under there, we can go really dark as well. Sort of became noticeable because I'd established some more stuff. Yeah, that's not too bad. Just go a little bit darker. These foreground rocks, tad. Get a little bit of this water, having said I wouldn't, get a little bit of this water texture in, just a touch. And yeah, that's pretty good point to stop, I think. So hopefully you guys get the idea. We're not looking for a perfect sketch. What we're doing is just kind of looking at the rock forms, we're studying them, trying to learn about them in a way that's pretty kind of low pressure. So we're not going for anything being perfect. It's not a finished sort of thing we're doing. It's something that would maybe feed into if you're doing your own traditional media pieces and you just want to learn about the structure of something in a way that's not going to waste lots of paper or paint and so on. So yeah, that kind of thing. That's what these sorts of sketches are really great for, which is why we've been focusing a lot on them over the past term, pretty much. Continue to do so because there's a lot more traditional stuff on the channel that you can check out. But I thought it would be useful for people just to have a bit more stuff. It's not exactly digital because my approach is not, the most digitally literate. It's actually it's like a traditional artist's approach to making digital art. So hopefully, if you're from more of a digital background, kind of gives you a slightly different angle than being super knowledgeable about what you're doing with the programs. And if you're from a traditional background, hopefully it sort of shows you how you can adapt what you already know and what you've already kind of built up as knowledge into digital studies, which ultimately can feed back into your traditional, or it can just become a sort of end point in itself that you feel comfortable making digital art. But yeah, that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As always, you can comment below if you've got any questions about the lesson, or if you have a go at it yourself and you want to sort of talk about it with me, definitely comment below and I'll get back to you. And you can click the link in the description to visit our website to check out the sorts of paid qualifications we offer. And if you just want to keep up to date with more videos from myself, other tutors from the school, and students, you can subscribe. Click the subscribe channel. But yeah, that's it for today, and I'll see you guys soon.